Before we put on our starter, I'm going to show you basically how it works. The way the starter operates is once power is delivered to it from the switch, the starter shaft, or the jack shaft, will kick out like this and start spinning. And the kit I have installed here, the actual jack shaft assembly is installed first, and then the starter is put in. We've got a spacer, a spring, the jack shaft gear itself, and the end cap with a bolt going through it to lock it all in. So from here, I'll take the starter. I'm going to put a drop of red Loctite on the mounting bolts. We'll sit the starter into its spot on the transmission. Set our mounting bolts in there. I'll thread them in. Alright, with those mounted up, we'll go ahead and torque it. Alright, now we'll go ahead to the other side and put on our end cover. Next up, we'll install our support for the starter jack shaft. On the back, you'll see it looks just like this. It has a bushing that the jack shaft will press its way into and spin as it's starting the motorcycle. So before I install it, again, I'll put a little bit of grease on that bushing. It's not going to be coming in contact with open air. The tip of the jack shaft will be sitting in it at all times. Mount that. And then I'm also going to use this bracket for our license plate frame. Put a couple drops of blue Loctite on our mounting bolts. And we'll spin these guys into place. And we'll go ahead and torque these down to 10 foot-pounds. To mount up our oil tank, what we're going to do is set up our front mount, and we have our rear mounts that are set up to the frame. On this oil tank, they're rubber mounted, front and rear. So from here, I'm just going to sit those in place, and we will torque them down once they're all mounted in. You just want to be very careful when you're installing the oil tank not to scratch it. Alright, this is our last bolt on the oil tank. We're all secure there. If you remember, in our mock-up stage, we routed out our oil lines in Chapter 4. Here, I just inserted our fittings, and I'm going to finish up with these outlet fittings for our 3/8 oil lines. And we're going to set up these oil lines just like we did in our mock-up stage. Now that we have all of our oil lines set up the way we want them and the way we set them in mock-up originally, we can go ahead and clamp them down. You could use a worm type clamp. I like using these compression fittings just because they look that much more professional. And the way these work is you just slide them on. You get your special crimping tool and just give them a squeeze. And that locks them into place. Before we install our oil filter, we'll want to take some motor oil and fill the filter just to get rid of any void of air in the oiling system. So I'll just kind of fill it until the pleats stop absorbing the oil, or it looks like it's kind of sitting up top. Should be good about there. And then take my finger and just run a little bit of the oil around this rubber quad seal up top. That'll stop from sticking when I'm spinning it on. Set our oil filter on, spin it on, and a good rule of thumb is once it makes contact, you want to make it about one complete turn after that to get it to fully seat. Just like that.